I wanted to know, according to you, what are the best adult fantasy books out there, because adult fantasy, it's my favorite subgenre, and over these last years I read a little bit more than 70 different stories. So what I've done is take all of the books that I've read, then go to Goodreads, being the most popular rating app, and I've shortlisted those books based on popularity. So today we're going to see a list of 20 books that are, according to you, the best adult fantasy. But bear in mind that in order to put each of these books in the position, I took into consideration not only the amount of people that voted that book or that rated it, but also the value of the proper rating, with some honorable mentions that I will cover at the end of the video. I really believe that I've covered here the majority or the most popular books. So here we go. And let's start with the first bracket, 20 to 15. And oh my god, this already breaks my heart to see these in this position. We have in the top 20, Promise of Blood. This is a medieval story that will have 3 different points of view covered. You can be a sorcerer, but also you can ingest this powder that will grant you special powers, or you can just have a knack. And the story will kick off with one of these characters creating an uprising and killing the king. And so from that moment, he will need to manage the aftermath of that situation. So it's a very political book that will blend all the points as this mad prophecy of God that it's about to emerge, and a war that it's coming because the empire is weak. In the 19th position, and again, this also breaks my heart, we have The Emperor's Soul by Brandon Sanderson. It's a very short novella, just 200 pages. It's very character driven. Magic wise, we will have different types. We will see from one side how our main character is able to scribe things and be able to change those things and to pass kind of like a soul to them. And in the other, we will see a little bit of blood magic. And the story starts with our girl in jail, and she is given kind of like a new opportunity to leave. But in order to leave, she needs to do something for the empire. She will need to craft anew the soul of the emperor. In the 18th position, we have a dark fairy tale story by Naomi Novik, Spinning Silver. It's very wintry and very character driven as well. And this story will follow different women, but especially one of them that is taking care of her family. And she, little by little, starts getting the reputation of being able to turn everything into gold. And so when the King of the Frost hears this, she will get herself a little bit into a deal, and the story unfolds from there. We go to another standalone, and I do agree of these being in this position, and that it's The Priory of the Orange Tree. This chunky boy will have incredible descriptions, multiple points of view. We will have a little bit of a chosen one. Magic wise, it's going to be a soft magic system. It's pretty plot driven. And this book will tell the story of how the same event, that it's a supposedly great evil, it's treated differently in different parts of this land, the east and the west. In one side we will have this dragon rider, and in the other one this sorcerer that it's a little bit of a bodyguard to the queen. In the 16th position we have The Starless Sea, a book that I believe it's not for everyone, and it was definitely not my cup of tea. It's a nice blend between a character and a plot-driven story. The thing is that this is a book that talks about another book. And The Starless Sea begins with our guy finding a book that relates a story about himself and how he saw this door in a wall and how that door was able to bring him to the Starless Sea, this magical world. And so from that point onwards, our character will become obsessed. We go now to the second bracket, like from 15 to the top 10. And funny enough, we have here a book, a series that when I read it, I was like, I despise this, but as time has passed by, this has become one of my favorites, and actually for me, this would have ranked in the top 5. The Poppy War by Arif Kwan. This is a heavily war, politics-oriented story, but we will follow a main point of view that it's not likable. At least I did not. So if you're a very character-driven reader, as I am, at times I believe you'll find it complex to resonate with the character. It starts with our girl working her ass off to get into this very elite school, but once that she gets there, a war starts to unfold, and all of these students will need to play a role and fight as well. She has developed a little bit of magic up till this point, so she's very, very untamed. She has a lot of ambition. She wants to change things. In the 14th position, we have a series that resembles a lot to the writing style of Brandon Sanderson, and that is the Black Prism. In here we'll have a medieval setting and we will have a magic system that is based on colors. I thought that was spectacularly different. We will be following our main guy, who is the Black Prism, which means that he has all of the colors, he has all of these different powers, and he has been outliving his role. And so, as you can imagine, this creates a lot of political instability. It's very much a book that plays with your mind. Next, we have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is also a slightly dark fairy tale, wintry, foresty story. It's this fight between the pagan religion and the Occidental religion, and this story picks up in a moment where people are starting to not really believe in the gods of the forest, but our girl does believe in these, and she's able to commute to talk with them. And one day she is aware that a great evil is gonna emerge from the forest, because now that no one believes in these gods, he is super powerful. In the 12th position we have a standalone that, if it were for me, it will be as well in the top 5. And that it's Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. It is really a great book to get into fantasy because the tone is light, it has this nice blend between adventure, romance, politics, religion, and the premise of Warbreaker is that we will have this kingdom that is very threatened to war, and so the decision of the king was to make the alliance and ensure that one of his daughters is married to the god king. But when the moment comes, this king decides not to send the daughter that he was been grooming all of his life, but to send the other daughter. Magic in this world, it's outstandingly beautiful. We will have these different breeds. You're able to see like more colors to influence life. We'll have another point of view of this god that does not believe he is a god. In the 11th position, and getting really close to the top 10, we have a series that it's not necessarily for me, but that I reckon it is for a lot of people and that it's widely loved. And it is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This is a very character-driven grimdark story. You will follow these different points of view. One of them is of this inquisitor, and he is bringing people to their deaths. We will follow kind of like a noble. He wants to be a hero, but he's not really. And then we will have this savage man that really wants to move away from his life, and he's trying to, have a little peace. Let me know down below though, what is your opinion of the books that we've seen so far? And we are entering the top 10, and we are doing so spectacularly because we will have another standalone by Brandon Sanderson, Elantris. This is the first novel that Brandon Sanderson wrote, so it's not perfect by any means, but it has such powerful elements, really low on magic, so again a great point if you want to enter into fantasy, and it will really touch on religious and political topics. Into the 9th position we have a book that it's also not really for me. It's the 5th season, so the Broken Earth trilogy. We will have a little bit of a chosen one, but at the same time it's a story told under the point of view of a mother, which I thought that was really interesting. And we will talk about this land that it's really broken, and we'll follow this woman that has to see how her child has been taken away because the child had a little bit of magic. Next we have Heist. We will have family found vibes, we'll have a lot of banter, and that is The Lies of Locke Lamora. We'll tell the story of these very young members of an emerging gang, and we will start seeing how they plan one of these heists, but also how they play a role in this environment of other gangs. It has a little bit of a unique writing style because we will see things that happen in the past, then in the present, and it's not really clear what are the timestamps that we are seeing. In the 7th position we have a very long series, The Dresden Files. This is a paranormal story where our main character is this warlock detective, and he will start investigating because there's been some murders in the city that seems to be magic related. There's a lot of humor, it's pretty action-packed. In the 6th position, and it's almost in the top 5, we have Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This is such a short, whimsical standalone, and it will follow the story of Tristan, this misfit that is madly in love with this very mean girl. And one day, this mean girl tells him, go seek that star that has just fallen, and if you're able to bring that star to me, I'll marry you. The tricky thing here is that this star has fallen in the other side of the wall, and no one has really crossed it. It's a portal fantasy. And now in the top 5, we will start with an author that it's very popular and one of our somewhat newer series, Crescent City, mainly a chosen one, and the story will be set in this world where there's a lot of paranormal creatures. We follow the story of our girl Bryce, and she is this party girl, and one day something very bad happens to her best friend. From that point onwards, she will start this path of one, trying to discover what happened, and second, discovering her role in this world. In the top 4, we have a book that I believe it's really hard to mark at times as adult fantasy. Overall, it's described as middle grade for adult readers. The House in the Cerulean Sea is such a cozy, whimsical story and has also this dark humor that makes the characters very, if not really lovable, very unique. And we'll follow the story of this grumpy middle-aged man that is a little bit of a workaholic. His job is to go to the different orphanages and check that the children are all right, and one day he's tasked with the mission and check what is happening with these 6 different powerful children, because the children that he looks after are all magical creatures. And we go now to the top 3. Let me know down below right now, what are those books that you believe are in this list, or at least what are those for you? But for me, the one that is ranking in third position should actually be number 1, Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. This is also an unconcluded series. It's chunky, like each of the books had at least 1000 pages, but boy oh boy, an amazing blend between character and plot driven. The characters are very fleshed out. In these books, we will see our characters pretty much fighting against mental illnesses, which I thought was pretty interesting. It tells a story of this land that is at the brink of war. We start with this king being killed by these older species, and we will start seeing different characters. One of them is of this bridge man that had a little bit of a tormented past, and he is presently in a situation that is not at all desirable. We will see then a general of this war that also has a lot of nightmares. Then we will also see this very sage woman and the girl that is learning from her. And throughout this story, we will get a lot of different pieces about the world building and the magic. In the second position, we have Name of the Wind. And mainly this has this great blend of a character and plot-driven story. But we will see our main character, Quoth, who is a little bit of a non-really trustable narrator, and he will mainly tell the different stories of his life, because he is a hero, but is he? And in the top 1, but for me, the top 2, Song of Ice and Fire with the first book, Game of Thrones. This series is incredible. We have this epic story that unfolds in this massive land. We have the different houses to keep track. The majority of the characters are new ones. For me, what makes this series so great is that the characters are always in danger, and more than once you will find yourself reading something that you do not want to read. And now into the mentions that I did not take into account here because I have not read them, but that are wildly popular and that should have been in this top 5. We have Robin Hobb with the Farseer trilogy, and we also have Robert Jordan with Wheel of Time. Let me know down below if there's anyone else or any series that I'm missing. But if you're also interested on not just knowing what are the most popular according to you, the best ones according to you, but also hidden gems with the great reviews, watch this video with Hidden Fantasy Gems.